Russell Westbrook was the biggest name left in free agency, but now he has a new basketball home.
Russell Westbrook is signing with the Sacramento Kings. NBA MVP Russell Westbrook is back for his 18th season in Sacramento.
Russell Westbrook just signed with the Sacramento Kings. Yeah, the Brody, Mr. Triple-Double himself, the 2017 MVP. He's heading to Sacramento on a one-year, $3.6 million deal to join what might be the most confusing roster construction we've seen in years. So real quick, before we get into this, make sure you drop, like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to get the latest NBA news to your device. And now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. If you took my Monday Night Football play in my last video, then congratulations on 3.5xing your money. And now PrizePicks gave us a free square to celebrate the new NBA season. Steph Curry just needs 1 point for his square to hit, and I have a play for you to take advantage of this. First, download PrizePicks and use my promo code microphone to get $50 when you make a play of $5 or more when you sign up for PrizePicks. And for opening night of the NBA season, I have Steph Curry making less than 4.5 threes, Alperen Şengün getting more than 10 rebounds, and Luka getting more than 48.5 points, rebounds, and assists, which should be easy because the last time he came off of a summer where he played European basketball, he went way over this. I have additional plays on my IG page, and my Discord server has been profiting each and every single day, and you can check that out in the WAP link in the description down below. And thank you, PrizePicks, for sponsoring today's video. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? So here's what went down. According to Shams, Russell Westbrook and the Sacramento Kings reached an agreement after what can only be described as one of the most dramatic free agency sagas for a veteran in recent memory. I said dramatic for a reason. We'll get to that in a minute. Russ is coming off of a season with the Denver Nuggets where he averaged 13.3 points, 6.1 assists, 4.9 rebounds, and 1.4 steals across 75 games. Now, those aren't the numbers that are going to blow you away, but here's the thing. He shot 44.9% from the field, which is actually pretty solid efficiency for where he's at in his career. He started 36 out of those 75 games. Russ was mainly a bench scorer that was pushing the pace while Jokic was catching his breath. But here's where it gets interesting. Russ declined his $3.5 million player option with Denver to hit free agency, and for a minute there, it looked like he might not even be in the NBA for this season. Okay, so check this out. Reports came out yesterday that Russell Westbrook literally smashed his phone after hearing that Alex Antetokounmpo, Giannis's youngest brother, signed with the Milwaukee Bucks before he had a deal. A 9-time All-Star, former MVP, future Hall of Famer getting frustrated because Alex Antetokounmpo got signed first. And it wasn't just that. A team in the CBA reportedly offered Westbrook 4 times the amount of what the Kings were offering. We're talking about potentially $14 million to go play in China versus taking the veteran minimum to stay in the NBA, and Russ chose to stay. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that for all the noise, for all the criticism he's gotten over the years, Russ still believes he has something left to prove in this league. He's not ready to cash out and fade away overseas. He wants to compete at the highest level, even if it means taking a massive pay cut and joining his 7th team in 6 years. All right, so now we got to talk about what Russ is walking into, because Sacramento... Man, Sacramento's a whole situation right now. Let's rewind for a second. The Kings came off of one of the most chaotic seasons in franchise history, and that's saying something for a team that held the longest playoff drought in NBA history. 16 straight years from 2007 to 2023. They finally broke that streak in 2023, made the playoffs, and everyone thought, okay, maybe the dark days are finally over. But then this past season happened. De'Aaron Fox, their franchise point guard, the face of the team, got traded to the San Antonio Spurs in a 3-team deal that brought back Zach LaVine from Chicago. And look, LaVine is talented. He's a 2-time All-Star. He can score at all 3 levels, but here's the problem. He's playing with DeMar DeRozan, who they signed in free agency, and Domantas Sabonis, their all-NBA center. So you got LaVine, DeRozan, and Sabonis as your big 3. And if you know nothing about basketball in 2025, you know that's a spacing nightmare. Out of these 3, only Zach LaVine is a premier 3-point shooter. Sabonis barely takes threes. He's averaged 1.4 3-point attempts per game for his career. DeRozan is a mid-range maestro, but not a floor spacer. LaVine can shoot, but he's most effective when he has the ball in his hands. And now you're adding Russell Westbrook to this mix, a guy who's shooting 32.3% from three. Like, what exactly is the plan here, Sacramento? Doug Christie is the head coach, and he's currently walking into a situation where the starting lineup is probably going to be Dennis Schroeder, which is another veteran point guard that they just signed, along with Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Keegan Murray, and Domantas Sabonis. So where does Russ even fit here? And here's what's fascinating about this signing. The Kings finished 29th in assists last season. That's almost dead last. They desperately needed playmaking and someone who could push the pace. Now look, say what you want about Russell Westbrook, and believe me, people have said a lot over the years, but the man can still get you assists and he will push the tempo. According to reports, Russell Westbrook's going to bring that energy, the intensity, the ability to grab a defensive rebound and just push the pace. The Nuggets were one of the slowest teams in the league before Russ got there, and his presence helped speed things up. The Kings need that. They finished 19th in pace last season despite having Sabonis, who's one of the best passing big men in the league and thrives in transition. They've got the pieces to run, they just haven't been running. So the role for Russ is he's probably going to be coming off of the bench as that second unit spark. You got Dennis Schroeder starting at the point, and then Russ comes in with the second unit to cook. And honestly, that might be the perfect spot for him at this stage of his career. We saw it work in Denver. Jokic was the primary playmaker with the starters, and then Russ would come in and take some of that burden off. He and Jokic actually had really good chemistry when they shared the floor, running pick and rolls, and Russ was making the right reads and finding cutters. But here's the thing, Sacramento doesn't have a Nikola Jokic. They don't have someone who can space the floor like Michael Porter Jr. or make plays like Jamal Murray. This Kings roster is crowded with guards and wings who all kind of do similar things. Malik Monk, Keon Ellis, Devin Carter, all these guys need minutes, and now you're adding Russell Westbrook to the mix? Let's be real for a second. From a pure basketball perspective, this signing feels chaotic. And look, I'm not trying to be a hater, but a lot of people around the league are scratching their heads at this. The spacing is going to be brutal. The defense might be even worse. And in the Western Conference right now, you got the Thunder looking scary. The Rockets just traded for Kevin Durant. The Nuggets got even better this past offseason. The Warriors retooled. The Mavericks could be dangerous once they're fully healthy. And if Kawhi doesn't get suspended, then the Clippers are a contender as well. Where do the Kings fit in all of this? You know what? Maybe that's exactly why this signing makes sense for both sides. The Kings are desperate. They can't afford to have another lost season. Their fans have suffered through more basketball hell than almost any fan base in modern sports. The last time they made the playoffs before 2023, the iPhone didn't exist yet. Barack Obama wasn't president. Flip phones were still a thing. So if you're the Kings, you're thinking, we need veterans who've been there. We need guys who know how to win. Russell Westbrook's played in huge games. He's been to the finals. He's won an MVP. Even if he's not that player anymore, he brings something intangible, that competitive fire that Sacramento has been missing for decades. Let's take a step back and talk about the journey that got Russ to this point, because it's actually pretty incredible when you think about it. This is a guy who was originally thought to be a reach at the number 4 overall pick in the 2008 NBA draft. He spent 11 seasons in OKC, formed one of the most dynamic duos with Kevin Durant, made it to the NBA Finals in 2012, became a 9-time All-Star, then had that magical 2016-17 season. Do you remember that season? KD left for Golden State. Everyone thought the Thunder were done, and Russ proved everyone wrong. He averaged 31.6 points, 10.7 rebounds, and 10.4 assists. The first player since Oscar Robertson in 1962 to average a triple-double for an entire season. He broke Oscar's single-season record with 42 triple-doubles and won the MVP award. And then he did it again, and again, and again. Westbrook averaged a triple-double for 4 seasons total. He's the all-time leader in triple-doubles with 203 and counting. But somewhere along the way, the narrative changed. The triple-doubles became stat padding, the inefficiency became the focus, the playoff struggles without KD became the story, and then came the team-hopping era. Houston in 2019, where it didn't work with James Harden. Washington in 2020, where he actually had a solid year, but the team wasn't good enough. The Lakers in 2021, which was a disaster. The fit with LeBron and AD was terrible, and Russ became the scapegoat for that team's failures. Then the Clippers in 2023, where he started to accept a bench role, and then Denver in 2024, where he actually looked good. A Berkeley Sports Analytics study broke down how Westbrook's game evolved in Denver. His turnover rate dropped, his shot selection improved. He took over 40% of his shots at the rim and converted 64% of them, his best rate since 2021. He wasn't trying to be 2017 Russ anymore. He was being 2000 2025 Russ, a guy who could still impact winning in different ways. So now we get to the big questions. What does this signing mean for Russell Westbrook's legacy? And is Sacramento his last stop? Let's start with the legacy piece, because this is complicated. On one hand, Russell Westbrook's resume is insane. 9-time All-Star, 2-time scoring champion, 3-time assist leader, 2-time All-Star Game MVP, the 2017 NBA MVP, a member of the NBA's 75th anniversary team, the all-time triple-double leader by a mile, over 26,000 career points. That's a Hall of Fame career, no question. First ballot Hall of Famer whenever he decides to hang it up. But, and there's always a but with Russ, he never won a championship. And in today's NBA, fairly or not, that matters. Especially for a guy who is teammates with Kevin Durant, James Harden, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Nikola Jokic. The narrative is going to be he couldn't figure out how to win with all that talent. Is that fair? Probably not entirely. The 2012 Thunder were still insanely young. The Harden trade changed everything. Injuries played a role. The Lakers situation was a mess from day one with fit and roster construction, but perception is reality in sports. And the perception of late career Russell Westbrook is that he's a high usage, low efficiency player who can't adapt his game. The Denver season helped change the narrative a bit, showing that he could still be a winning player in the right situation. But one season doesn't erase years of struggles. So what's Sacramento's role in all of this? If the Kings somehow make a deep playoff run with Westbrook contributing meaningful minutes, that changes things. It shows he can be part of a winning formula, even at 36 years old, even on his 7th team, even as a role player. That's a redemption arc people can get behind. But if Sacramento crashes and burns, if the spacing issues are as bad as we think, if the defense is terrible, if they miss the playoffs or get bounced in the play-in, then Russ becomes part of another failed experiment. And that only reinforces the negative narratives. Here's the reality. Russ turns 37 years old in November. He's in his 18th NBA season. He's already played for 6 different teams, and Sacramento will be his 7th. He's a journeyman, just like Shaq was in the later stages of his career, just like Dwight Howard was. The contract is 1 year, $3.6 million. It's essentially a prove-it deal. If things go well, maybe Russ gets another veteran minimum contract somewhere next summer. Maybe he sticks with Sacramento if it works out. But at his age, with his style of play, it's hard to imagine there's going to be a huge market for him after this season. So is this his last stop? Maybe not his absolute last. I could see him pulling a Vince Carter or a Udonis Haslem and sticking around for a year or two as a mentor or veteran presence, but are we watching the beginning of the end? Almost certainly. And honestly, there's something poetic about it potentially ending in Sacramento, a team that's been starved for success, for relevance, for hope, a player who's been searching for that right fit, that chance to show he can still contribute, that opportunity to change the narrative. If you're a Kings fan, you're probably thinking one of two things right now. Either you're excited about adding a future Hall of Famer who might bring some of that competitive fire and playmaking the team desperately needs, or you're terrified that this is just another confusing move by a franchise that hasn't figured out things yet. So what should we actually expect from Russell Westbrook this season in Sacramento? First off, he's not going to be the focal point of the offense. That ship has sailed. The Kings have LaVine, DeRozan, and Sabonis who are going to eat up most of the touches. Russ is coming off of the bench, probably playing 20 to 25 minutes a night, maybe starting a handful of games here and there if someone's injured or resting. But in those minutes, expect him to play. One thing that's never changed about Russell Westbrook is his motor. His intensity is still there. He's still going to crash the boards. Remember, he's a 6'4" guard who's had 4 seasons with 700 plus rebounds. Tying for the most in NBA history for a player that height. He's still gonna push the pace every chance he gets. He's still gonna be vocal, emotional, and competitive as hell. The question is whether that fits with what Sacramento needs. Do they need a spark plug off the bench? Absolutely. Do they need someone to mentor the young guys like Keegan Murray and potentially Devin Carter? For sure. Do they need veteran leadership from someone who's been through everything this league can throw at you? Without a doubt. But do they need another ball-dominant guard who struggles with spacing and sometimes makes questionable decisions? That's where it gets tricky. I think the best case scenario for both sides is that Russell Westbrook embraces the role we saw glimpses of in Denver, be the energy guy off of the bench, push the pace in transition, make the simple play, attack mismatches, play with that ferocity on defense that made you such a problem in your prime, and know when to let LaVine or DeRozan cook. If he can do that, if he can check his ego at the door and just be a supporting piece rather than trying to prove he's still the guy, this could actually work. But you know what I think is really interesting about all this? We're watching watching the final chapter of a generation of superstars who defined the 2010s. LeBron is out for the beginning of the season because he has sciatica. Kevin Durant is still elite, but he's 37. Steph Curry is 37. James Harden is 37. Chris Paul has memes about him for how washed he looks at the Los Angeles Clippers media day. And Russell Westbrook, he's part of that crew. These guys dominated the league for over a decade, and now we're watching them all navigate the twilight of their careers in different ways. Some, like LeBron and Steph, are still franchise cornerstones. Others, like Russell Westbrook, are trying to find their place in a league that moved on from the style of play that made them great. There's something bittersweet about it. These were guys we grew up watching, arguing about, making highlights of, and now they're coming off of the bench, taking veteran minimums, bouncing from team to team, hoping to contribute to one more playoff run. But here's the thing, and this is what I respect about Russell Westbrook more than anything, he's still fighting and made bank playing against lesser competition. He could have called it a career after Denver, but no, he's still here. He's still competing, and he's still believing that he has something to offer. Look, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that Russell Westbrook to the Sacramento Kings is some genius move that's gonna catapult them into contention. The fit is weird, the roster construction is questionable, and there are legitimate concerns about how all these pieces work together. But I will say this, Sacramento needed to do something. They couldn't just run it back with the same crew and hope for different results. Adding Westbrook even at this stage of his career at least shows that they're trying. They're bringing in a competitor, a winner, someone who's been in big moments and knows what it takes. Will it work? Man, I honestly don't know. The Western Conference is absolutely stacked. The Kings have a lot of questions to answer about their defense, their spacing, their guard rotation, their identity as a team. Russell Westbrook isn't gonna fix all those problems, but maybe, just maybe, he can help with some of them. Maybe his intensity rubs off on the younger guys. Maybe his playmaking unlocks something in Sabonis or Keegan Murray. Maybe he has a couple of vintage Russ performances that remind everyone why he was one of the most dominant forces in the league for a decade. Or maybe this is just another weird chapter in the increasingly strange story of the Sacramento Kings, a franchise that's been searching for answers since 2006 and still hasn't quite found them. Either way, I'm going to be watching because love him or hate him, Russell Westbrook is one of the most compelling figures in NBA history, and watching his final act play out, wherever that may be, is something that we should all appreciate while we can. At the end of the day, I'm just happy he's in the NBA for this season. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.